What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS3 Raw TV. Tonight we're talking about something that came up on my Instagram the other day on live. An individual asked me about insulin. Before we get started, right above my thumb over here, you notice the Rey Mysterio mask. People are actually asking about the Rey Mysterio mask on Instagram as well as on here. And there's actually a story behind the Mysterio mask. And what that is it's actually a mask that was sold by Roots of Fight with the jacket that matches it. And the mask was made by Rey's mask maker, sent to Rey. Rey signed it, and then they mailed them out. Now, it wasn't a gift from Rey. It was actually a gift from WWE superstar Sheamus for Christmas. He actually sent me the jacket and the mask. He knows that I'm a Mysterio fan, and actually Rey's a friend of mine. But I have like all the different Rey stuff from Roots of Fight because I really like the Roots of Fight stuff. So that was from Sheamus. So Sheamus, thank you again, man. Love it. It's sitting right over here behind me in my videos, man. So about the whole insulin thing now. You know, someone asked me about insulin being like, hey, Jerry, what do you think about insulin? Did I ever use Lantus? And I was like, what the fuck is Lantus? I was thinking, I'm like, I don't know. So we had Humulin R or Novolin R, and we had Humalog and Novolog. So that's pretty much what we used them before. It was two, the Novolog and Humalog were fast acting, which they kicked in about 30 minutes and lasted maybe about an hour after that. And the Humulin R was on set about, I think, maybe an hour, 2 hours, and it lasted 8 hours before it was fully out of your system. I think it peaked in like 2 hours, and then it was out of your system totally like 8 hours, something like that. And, I was explaining how when I used it two different ways. I used it with growth hormone and without growth hormone. And I just want to tell you guys, like, insulin is not the answer. Like, a lot of people seem to think it is. And it's like, it's legally available. Like, you can buy it at a pharmacy, which prices have skyrocketed. It was $13 back in the day when I bought it. It's like $150 or something like that now. And it's one of those things that I feel DNP and insulin are both the two most dangerous things in bodybuilding. Stuff that can not only, hurt you long-term, I feel, but like stuff like thyroid medication, things like that can hurt you long term. This stuff can hurt you very short term, meaning if you miss the dose now and you fuck it up with DNP or insulin, you can be in the fucking hospital today in a couple hours. Like, that's how fast it can fuck you up. So the discussion that we got into on Instagram was about, I think he was planning on taking it, and other people jumped in, which I thought was pretty cool, but the only reason you should take insulin as a bodybuilder, I'm not suggesting anybody do this, this is not medical advice, this is not what you should do as a bodybuilder, is when they're taking growth hormone. Now, when you take growth hormone, and I also only recommend using a pharmaceutical grade growth hormone you get from a doctor or something like that, not this bullshit that you get from China, that's all this crap. But as you use growth hormone, the more that you use, the more that your body gets desensitized to insulin, and it still makes insulin, but it gets desensitized to the insulin, and your body no longer can regulate blood sugar properly. So your blood sugar starts to rise. So if you actually take your blood sugar in the morning, it's fucking sky high. And as you eat throughout the day, your blood sugar keeps rising, and you can actually have high blood sugar, which if I've had the feeling of high blood sugar is a little bit different than low blood sugar, right? You don't have like you don't feel out of it, you're not sweating, you don't feel like passing out. Your ears fucking ring, and you have this like pressure in your fucking head. It's a very strange feeling. And what you do is, because the growth hormone is raising your blood sugar and it won't regulate down, you take the insulin to regulate your blood sugar with that. It's in addition to the growth hormone. So it's not like, for some reason, people think, well, insulin, that's what makes you huge. Insulin will make you fat as shit if you're not on growth hormone and you're not using the anabolics with it. It has to be used with anabolics and growth hormone. It has to be done the right way. Usually the way it works is people start the anabolics and they get to a point where they're maxed out. No matter how much shit they're taking, their body's not growing any further. They keep bumping up the dosages, it's just stuck. So then what happens is they add growth hormone in. So you throw the growth hormone in there, and now the body makes a jump, right? It starts to look a little bit different, and you're going to notice that your body's gaining, but even that kind of plateaus out a little bit fairly quickly, but you just get a leaner, drier, more onion skin, thin skin look from the growth hormone, and you can notice you can eat a lot of shit, and it's kind of not really sticking. Like, you stay lean, right? But as your body is using this growth hormone over time, your thyroid starts to drop. Now is the time that you'd usually put thyroid in there, like a T3 Cytomel or something like that, Cytomel, whatever brain that you have, you'd add it like that. Now again, I'm not telling people to do this. This is not a how-to fucking video. This is what the people in the pros and people that are successful on those levels that are doing it, and it is fucking dangerous. Like, it can hurt you. So this is not advice. This is just telling you guys to stop using insulin just for the fuck of it because you think the pros, that's what made them big, right? So as you add this thyroid medication in, it starts to level the thyroid out. Now your blood sugar starts to get fucked up. So now is when they usually include the insulin afterwards. So these guys that are taking the insulin, they're leaving out the whole part about the fact that they've been on growth hormone for maybe a year, or high doses of growth hormone, or they're cycling their growth hormone. There's different burst ways that they do it. There's all these different ways that people do it. And I'll tell you right now, if you ask 3 different people, they'll have 3 different ways of how they do it. But all of them would include the insulin once their blood sugar starts going up and not being able to be regulated. Now, the Humalog was something that they would use, and they use multiple insulins throughout the day too. So they'll use like a long-acting insulin, in the morning, which is like the 8-hour acting insulin. And what they'll do is like at night, if they're training, at night they'll spike their insulin with they'll spike their body with a shot of quick-acting insulin like Humalog at night because it's out of your system before you go to bed. Or vice versa, if they're in the morning, they're training. In the morning, they'll spike themselves with the Humalog in the morning. After that's out of the system for a couple hours, what they do is then they start eating massive amounts to accommodate for the growth that they're going to get, or the stimulus that was in the gym to get the growth. They hit the insulin then that lasts for 8 hours, and some of them you do it like every meal. Like there's different dosing protocols, which, some are more dangerous than others, but the bottom line is people think insulin is the answer, and it's not. If you take insulin, I did it, without the growth hormone, even just insulin and steroids together, you will get fat. You will get fat fast. Like, it'll be so fast you won't even understand it happen. You'll be like, yeah, I'm looking good. I got good pumps, and I feel bigger, and I'm a few pounds heavier in the scale. You wake up in the morning, and all of a sudden you're like, how did I get to be 25% body fat? What the fuck happened? Like, it's that fast. And it's one of those things where it's not really talked about. The pros don't talk about it much, because they don't want to be responsible for somebody taking insulin and hurting themselves. So they don't really talk about it and put out a lot of information out about it and how they do it. And some of these guys, they go really overboard with it, and you hear about the high dosages and shit. Well, those guys have been on insulin so long that their body starts getting desensitized to the insulin they're injecting. So their body's making insulin, it's desensitized to it. So what they do is add more insulin by injecting it, and it brings it up even higher. And when it starts to get desensitized to that, they start adding more insulin, and it brings up the insulin even higher. You have so much insulin in your body that if for some reason your body gets sensitized to it again, you'd fucking be dead. You would just drop. That's all there's to it. So usually what happens is they have to come off the insulin, come off the growth hormone first, start reducing the insulin to get their body's level back out again. Eventually their pancreas starts working right again, and their body becomes sensitized to insulin again. And at that point, I've never heard of anybody actually becoming diabetic from it. There's all these rumors and shit, but I'll be honest with you, I know a lot of these guys, and none of them are out there testing their blood sugar and shit because they used insulin, when they were competing, and they all used it. So I don't know about those rumors, where they started from, and it makes sense. People are like, well, if you push your pancreas too hard, it'll stop producing insulin. Just like if you push your testicles too hard, it'll stop producing fucking testosterone. If you push your thyroid too hard, it'll stop producing T3. Like, it makes sense, but I've never seen that happen personally. But I have seen people fucking go down from too much insulin. They don't realize they took too much, or the timing of the meals were off. When you're dealing with insulin, you have to be super strict about your diet and your meal timing. Like, those people say, meal timing doesn't matter. Fuck those people. They have never messed with insulin. That's why a lot of these guys, they like, every 2 hours I eat, and I eat massive amounts. Well, the insulin dictates you have to do that. Without that, you're going to fucking crash and possibly wind up in the hospital, even become brain damaged because your fucking blood glucose drops so low that your fucking brain is starved for glucose, and you fucking wind up fucking yourself up, going to a diabetic coma because your fucking body's not producing the fucking, enough glucose to keep the fucking insulin working, or keep the insulin from fucking you up. So, we had the discussion on Instagram Live, and I thought it was a good discussion. I think that, it's good to put this information out because it's not encouraging people to use it. If anything, I hope that it kind of make people stop and think twice about possibly using this stuff. Because if you're out there and you're a beach fucking guy and you want to look good on the beach and with your girl and the clubs and shit, do not fuck with insulin. If you're a competitor who's like a local shows, don't fuck with insulin. If you're going to national shows, maybe start taking it into account. Like if you've already won local shows and you've won regional shows and you're heading over to the nationals and you're looking to, get to that next level, that's when you start thinking about it, but the growth hormone has to come first. You have to get quality growth hormone first. If you hit the pros, like by some reason you win your pro card and you hit the pros, now you have a decision to make. Like, look, if I want to compete as a pro and have a fucking chance, I have to do what they do. Ronnie Coleman learned that firsthand from Flex Wheeler, and the advice that he took made him Mr. Olympia. And I'm not saying it was insulin. I'm saying that when you get to that level, you have to do what they do to keep up with the Joneses and even be competitive. So hopefully this explains a little about insulin and why I feel it's like it's a tool in the toolbox for high-level bodybuilders, but for the recreational bodybuilder, it's an absolute fucking no-go. BioStrengthTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BioStrength.com is the blog. It's a no insulin, no-go bicep, and we are out.